Hello class, welcome to our second lesson dealing with percent equation. We've gone through the percent proportion, we introduced the percent equation on our last lesson, and so we're going to finish up the percent equation today. First thing that I want to deal with is just dealing with graphing a line based on a point and a slope. Remember, when you're graphing lines, the first thing you have to do is plot the point, and then from that point deal with the slope, because you have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Think GPS, okay, and how to get from point A to point B. Okay, so the first step on this in the blue circle, okay, would be do -1, -3, which would be to the left 1 and down 3. That's where my first point is. And then from there, the slope is 4. Another thing to keep in mind that the slope of 4 is 4 over 1. So you got to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1, put a dot, and then don't forget to connect it. And it's a line that goes on each way forever. So you got to make it a line. Second one, plot the point 2, 1. So over to the right 2, up 1. And then the slope is -3/4, which means instead of going up and to the right, you're going to go down and to the right. Okay, so that would be down 1, 2, 3, over to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, and draw your line. Now notice that the blue line is going in the upward direction from left to right. That's why it has a positive slope. The other one, the green one, is going from left to right in a negative direction and has a negative slope. Okay, the percent equation. They use the A, the P, and the W like the proportion piece. I don't know if you don't really need to memorize those letters necessarily. Just know it's the part equals the percentage times the whole. Okay, so this is the same as 15 is 50% of 30. That's what this example is. And you should know two of the three often, and you solve for the missing one as we solve using the percent equation. Okay, I'm going to set up both versions on a lot of these. So what is 24% of 50? That would be x out of 50 because I don't know what I got on the test, equals 24 out of 100. Or x equals 0.24 times 50. If you're using the proportion, it's always cross multiply, so I don't feel like I need to keep going over that in detail every time, but just cross multiply if you're doing the proportion. The equation, you take the percentage and make it a decimal, and then times the whole, and that will get you the part of 12. The next one, 9.5, is what percent of 25? In the proportion, that'd be 9.5 over 25 equals x over 100. Cross multiply, solve for x, same idea. If you're doing the equation, 9.5 is equal to what percent of, multiply 25. Then it's just a one-step equation. To get x by itself, you divide on 25 on both sides, and you get 0.38. Don't forget to make that a percentage, though. So you got to move the decimal over 2 spots, and that should be 38%. Common mistake is people just put 0.38%, but you got to make sure you multiply by 100 to make that a percentage in order to find the answer. Next one, 39 is 52% of what number? 39 is out of something, equals 52 out of 100. If I do the proportion, okay, that's how it would be set up. If I do the equation, 39 is equal to 52%, make it a decimal or fraction. In general, probably decimal is the route of choice, and then divide by 0.52 to solve for x. I need to be able to see these two ideas and your work to find the answer. So don't just write this equation and say, oh, the answer is 75. You need to show that you're dividing by 0.52. If you're doing cross multiplying, you need to show that. Okay, so each time you need to make sure of those scenarios as you're going through it. Okay, the next one, 73% of 200. That'd be x over 200 equals 73 out of 100. Or 100 equals, or I'm sorry, 100x equals 72, then 73 times 200 if I cross multiply it and then divide by 100 to find it. So I did just the proportion on this question to find 146. Okay, on the second one, similar for the proportion. 18 is out of something, equals 15 out of 100, cross multiply and solve. Okay, your work would look something like these two scenarios as you're solving if you're going to use the percent proportion. Okay, the next question I really like because it deals with something that probably applies to everyone. It's dealing with going out to eat or buying something and then having tax on it. Okay, so first question says find the percent of sales tax on the food total. So you can think of the food total as the whole and then the tax as the part. So part equals percent times whole if I do the equation. So to find x, I'm going to divide by 27.50 and I get 0.06, which is 6%. Now, please make sure you know that sales tax in Indiana is 7%. Okay, since you live in the state, that'd probably be a good thing to know. The next question says find the amount of a 16% tip on the food total. Now, it would be interesting to talk with your parents how they tip. I would encourage you to have a conversation with them about do they tip off of this number? Do they tip off the subtotal? How do they figure out how much they tip? Do they just tip a set amount? Okay, there's lots of different kind of tricks and things to that. What's important here is that tips in our current situation in restaurants, okay, is part of the bill. Because of the way that waiters and waitresses and people in the food industry are paid for serving you when you're out to eat or something like that. Okay, the assumption is you're going to leave a tip. So be careful on that. If you ever go out to eat with some friends, okay, don't forget that you're supposed to leave some type of tip. But I would encourage you to talk to a few people, figure out what type of system they use to figure out what tip they're going to give when they have a subtotal like this. Anyways, back to the question. If I want to find a 16% tip of the food total, I'm looking for a part because I don't know the tip, equals 16% of the food total, $27.50. I get 4.4. Now remember, this is money. So when you answer this, it should be $4.40, 4.40, as opposed to just 4.4 because it's a money situation. Okay, what number is 150% of 40? What number, I don't know, is 150% of 40? 1.5 times 40 is 60, so it should be higher than the original because you got 150%. 18 is what percent of 20? 18 out of 20 is x over 100. There's the proportion versus the equation on the last one. Cross multiply and solve, and you get 90. Okay, one thing that we need to make sure of that's not in your textbook is how to round percentages. Okay, let's look at this one. 35 is what percent of 380? Part equals percent times whole. Divide by 380 on both sides. When you solve this, you're going to get a horrible number, 0.0921, blah, 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 blah. I, as the teacher, will ask you on questions like this to round to the nearest tenth of a percent. Now, here's the mistake. People want to round this to the nearest tenth and then make it a percent. You have to make it a percent, then round to the nearest tenth. So to do that, I'm going to move the decimal over 2 spots and make it 9.21, blah, 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 and round that number to the nearest tenth. So you want to make it a decimal into a percent first, and then round to the nearest tenth in order to round to the nearest tenth of a percent. The second question is often easier for people. 90 is equal to 0.17 of something, divide by the percent on both sides. And if I just say round to the nearest tenth, you don't have to worry about multiplying by 100 because it's not a percentage question. So for the first one, you've got to multiply by 100 to make sure it's a percentage. The second one is just a number, so don't multiply that number by 100, and then just round to the nearest tenth. Okay, your homework today, 1 through 3, 10 through 22, and 28 in section 6.4. You have got to show the original problem somehow, show your steps, show your work, and then find the answer. It should look similar to these questions. I'm going to show my equation to start with, divide on both sides, and answer and round if necessary. Or I'm going to do the proportion like this one, okay, and then set it up, do my cross multiplying, and find the answer. That's what we as teachers are looking for out of you from these questions. So you want to make sure that you show your work in order to get full credit on your homework if it were to be part of a homework check. Have a good day, everyone.